What's poppin' interwebs? Welcome back to the Romulus Rant and to episode 6 of my proof series. If you haven't already joined the Holy Rant Empire and bore witness to the rest of the playlist, especially episode 5, which is a prerequisite for you to be able to follow this video, get your shit together.
Get your shit together! Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together. And if you gotta take it somewhere, you know? Take it to the shit store and sell it. Or put it in a shit museum. I don't care what you do. You just gotta get it together. Get your shit together!
I find that the majority of the erroneous power scaling concerning the Bleach verse is due to a total lack of understanding in the nature or the size of Kubo's cosmos. Consider this upload henceforth to be the utmost accurately definitive diagram for the scale and structure of the biggest verse of the big three, or any other considered for this essay for that matter. Toriyama describes the cosmology of Dragon Ball much the same as Kubo does his own Clorox Cosmology. Multiversal, near if not infinite time-space realms and dimensions existing within some form of trans-dimensional hyperspace medium. Unlike Dragon Ball, however, of which most if not its entire collective celestial abodes exists adjacent to each other extra-dimensionally speaking, there are countless canon-confirmed examples of infinite time-space dimensions existing within infinite time-space dimensions throughout the entire Clorox Bleach series run. So, Kubo's cosmology is much, much, much larger.
What?
Now, to be as transparent as hybrid humanly possible, there are absolutely no daizenshu, manga, or serialized episodes that state or claim any regions or planes of the Dragon Ball cosmos is infinite. Oh, and before y'all bifurcate me, disrespectfully step on my vivisected one-armed corpse's head, and cut off my strong hand, even after I've sacrificed my auxiliary fap arm to save the world of the living in the comment section. Riddle me this, monkeys.
Lousy no good saying, monkey!
If base Goku, infused with God Ki mind you, who clashed with Lord Beerus hard enough to threaten the stability of Universe 7 is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times more powerful than Cell Game's Vegeta, who blew up the Room of Spirit and Time, how the fuck was the hyperbolic time chamber even narratively considerable as a universal and or infinite feat?
Damn!
Without one single direct or even innocuous statement that it is infinite. Both the Time Room and the Divine Realm Chamber in Kami's Lookout are either explicitly finite, since world history is finite, or the result of a finite number of moments in the finite history of Earth, since our sun will eventually supernova and destroy it. Toriyama is on record as saying that Hell is very small compared to all of the other Universe 7 dimensions, and Zeno's realm is likely and narratively a hyperspace in which the other 12 universes inhabit, if not only universal as well in size.
Cap.
Which leaves only the other world or afterlife as an actual size competitor. One that is specifically stated in both the anime and the guidebooks as a parallel in size to the living universe, which again is literally and narratively comparable to the Soul Society, and even that makes perfect sense given that Dragon Ball universes are much larger than our own, and that Soul Society is large enough to house at least 2 other infinite time-space continuums inside of its own infinite time-space continuum. But let's just assume that all things are cross-verse equal and that the hyperbolic time chamber, the time room, the Divine Realm Chamber, and even the Pendulum Room dimensions, plus all other realms described as merely boundless or endless, are infinite in size. By this very logic, every single instance of a pocket dimension in Clorox Bleach would also qualify as an infinite size feat, which includes yet is not limited to the World of the Living and Yukio's pocket dimension by extension, the Soul Society, the Soul Palace, and Muken, Hueco Mundo, which would likely follow as having 25 infinite time-space continuums, i.e. its own and the largest singular low-complex multiverse within the Throat Goat, via the interior of Las Noches, the subterranean Minos Forest regions, and the 22 Kaja Negation specifically stated in both the manga and anime as Godzin's gift to all of Spada, including those of the Privion of Spada in this equalized link. The Shadow Realm.
I hear the Shadow Realm's lovely this time of year.
Nah, shot and better actually does mean Shadow Realm.
Natty!
Anymore. This also includes Grimmy's Feet, the Beast Realms, Reverse London, 5 to 9 narratively speaking via theology, infinite time-space regions in the low complex multiversal Hellverse, literally limitless valleys of screams, i.e. high complex multiversal, all within the 7 to 10D significantly higher complex multiversal hyperspace Garganta, bridged throughout by the infinite time-space Dangai and Senkaimon given that they are separate dimensions, and the Jigokumon by proxy of cross-verse equalization. But I digress. FYI, we also know the Bleachverse to in fact be unimaginably larger because Hell from the Hellverse movie is a canon-established multiverse with each of its confirmed 5+ layers being universal, infinite time-space regions. Try to remember that part, it'll be relatively important later. My point for now is that Hellverse, which should be relative in size to the entire Dragon Ball cosmology, is only one of 8 to 2+ dozen given the innumerable valleys of screens, dimensional and or extra-dimensional realms that inhabit a much larger Kubo hyperspace region, some of which again also contain a number of their own infinite time-space macrocosms. You know, like how as of the 1,000-Year Blood War arcs episode 25 and 26, all of the 3 worlds are now officially canon confirmed to possess their own heavens and earths, which either A, denotes that there are actually 3 separate Hellverses, i.e. 15 to 27 infinite time-space continuums within the pit, narratively speaking given the biblical roots of the 9 realms of Hell. B, destroying either one of the 3 worlds is a double infinity destruction feat, making Take My Strong Hand half-powered Gimin Yusai unironically and unintentionally a megaversal threat. C, canon confirms that Shikiguni inadvertently destroying Soul Society absolutely includes the conceptually or nigh if not just infinitely distant Soul Palace dimension as well. D indicates that Old Man Yama, who inarguably scales to the bottom 3 Zero Squad members, accidentally destroying Soul Society utterly, unquestionably entailed the destruction of all of the Reishi realms, given that even the slightest use of a Zero Squad Bankai would cause the heaven and the earth of the 3 worlds to tremble. Roll the clip. Another far more butler-inducing method of measurement is to view Old Man Yama's words at face value, and the Soul Society does not refer to the infinite time-space continuum that the noble blood of Sarate lords over, but rather the entirety of all Reishi realms, from Waco Mundo and the Valley of Screams to Reverse London, the Dangai, and Garganta. The spiritual world is described as Soul Society, and Soul Society is described as the spiritual world. What if Yamamoto's area of effect was everything that exists in the Clorox cosmology except for the world of the living in Hellverse? Making Battle of the Gods Goku in base closer to, if not far inferior to Yamamoto's suppressed Bankai feat.
Meta this, meta that. Have you ever met a fucking girl before?
Keeping in mind that Beisan Goku was giving it his all against Lord Beerus, while Yama was struggling to hold in multiversal flaming bubble guts with access to only half of his prime power attack potency.
Now then, I must bring this to a close, you have. If I do not end this soon, it will not be just you. I and the rest of the Soul Society will burn to ashes as well.
Moreover, you would have to first rationalize that end-of-series true Ultra Instinct Goku is faster than Whis and or his Tesseract field just to even mount the argument that Universe 7 or the distance between 2 separate universes is infinite, just in order for Goku or even Whis to match let alone exceed the travel speed of Hellverse Bankai Ichigo, who can still apply zillions of times multipliers to his fake Bankai. But Romulus, you beautifully sculpted Holy Half-Rant Emperor, you say. In the Arali chapter of Super, Whis traveled from Beerus' planet to Earth instantly, indicating that he had never traveled that fast before. To which I retort, even assuming that we ignore the parity issues here, or Jaya's statement about there only being 200 billion stars in the Dragon Ball Milky Way, the same number of stars as our own Milky Way BT dubs, which would make Beerus' planet at best a couple 100,000 light years from Earth, this would still make the travel time to the neutral zone between Universe 7 and 6 an extremely finite distance, given that the Tesseract still took 35 minutes to travel from Beerus' planet to Earth in 3 separate canon mediums, as well as Whis taking a total of 2 hours and 45 minutes to travel from Earth to Beerus' planet, and then from there to the neutral location situated between Universe 6 and Universe 7, especially given the Dragon Ball canon confirmation that the Milky Way is on the edge of Universe 7. The official Clorox Bleach Unmasked data book by tight motherfucking Kubo confirms that the world of the living and Soul Society and Waco Mundo by proxy are parallels, the only distinguishing factor between them being one is made up of Kishi, i.e. living matter, and the others consist of Reishi, i.e. spiritual matter. Chapter 585 of the manga confirms that Sarate and Soul Palace are 2 separate parts of the Soul Society, separated by a number of dimensional barriers precisely like the one above Sarate, let alone the repeated statements throughout the end of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc that Skyfather Yahweh Jewish Torah Sabbath Day was going to destroy the Soul Society, the world of the living, each and every valley of Scream, Garganta, and Waco Mundo, with absolutely no mention of the destruction of Soul Palace, or even Hell and Reverse London for that matter. This fact is only compounded in Chapter 517 of the manga and Episode 7 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, where it is explained that the same drop gates which protected Sarate during the Ryoka invasion arc normally surround the Soul Palace. My overall point is that the same Ichigo, who in base is casually 99 million times faster than light speed, took 9 hours to get from the palace to Sarate, which was a week's distance commute by stairwell flash steps. So, did end of series True Shikai Ichigo A travel at a leisure light speed, which would make the distance from point A to point B twice that of Pluto, while all of his friends are being murdered, mind you? Or B, did end of series True Shikai Ichigo, who had enough Ryatsu for death goddamn Ichibei to borrow a smidge to resurrect himself from an almighty murder, move at least 45 million times faster than light to reach the battlefield? By the way, making the Shiba clan canon more like a Bleach Bifrost bridge, and the distance between the Soul Palace and Sarate 45 to 90 million times farther. You know, like far beyond dark matter void unobservable universal plus distances. This would also make the Ashvalen Light, which heavily fatigued fodder tier ghost Nazis dodge prior to being speed blitzed by end of series Ichigo, unironically hundreds of tradecillions, hell, quadrodecillions, if not much more times massively faster than light speed plus, given the mere moments it took the beam to travel from Soul Palace to Sarate. If even all of that isn't enough to make you want to rip the literal bones out of your face just so you can become more humanoid and constantly be in denial about how you're totally not mimicking your Grim Reaper eons long blood enemy. We know that the speed of light is 300 kilometers or 186 miles per second, and that the height of the Vice to Captain level Gillian class Hollow is 501 feet.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Meanwhile, the elapse of time between the Minos Grande Sarah release and impact was only a 1 Mississippi, making beginning of series Ichigod, who witnessed the technique being fired, yet still managed to react and counter it casually 500 to 1 million times faster than light speed. This means any number of distance calculations, power stacks, or nerves that you make or have made to the Bleachverse necessarily have to be multiplied by no less than 500,000 times. If this is starting to sound my Yuri and Giselle love child,
What the hell are you talking about? I am a boy!
bonkers to you, it's only because Kubo is a fucking madman who absolutely hates Son Goku debates.
Nobody could be Goku!
But wait, there's more. The entire story franchise and all of Kubology, the Naruto-verse, and Dragon Ball, by the way, is heavily, like Hyosuke heavily,
Boy, that's a thick ass
based in Buddhist samsara mythology. Its story people believed in the cycle of karmic reincarnation, birth, life, death, and rebirth, attesting to the existence of 6 separate celestial realms and races. The 6 realms, more commonly referred to as lokas, comes from Buddhist Tantra cosmology, where they are typically divided into 3 separate planes. The formless world of the Devas and the Asura, i.e. Soul Society and the Shadow Realm. The world of form, belonging to the humans and the animals, i.e. the living universe and the beast realms. And the world of desire, that of the hungry ghosts and demons, i.e. Wakomundo and the Hellverse. Devaloka, the Tendo, realm of the gods. In Buddhist tradition, the Deva realm is populated by godlike beings who enjoy great power, wealth, and long life. They live in splendor and happiness. Further, their privilege and exalted status blinds them to the suffering of others, so in spite of their long lives, they have neither wisdom or compassion. This is a near one-to-one of the Sarate and the Shinigami class for the entire opening half of the Clorox Bleach series, plus Central 46 and all of Zero Squad all the way throughout the end of the series. Asura Loka, the Asharato, realm of the Titans, like Gerard, Black Lick, Steroid and Royd, and Yuha Ali Ababa Elijah Muhammad. The Asura are strong and powerful beings who are sometimes depicted as the enemies of the Deva, aka the near coup de grace by Almighty Yahshua Mazel Tov L'Chaim Ben Hur and the Holy Star of Bethlehem Quincy Reich. The karma of hate and jealousy causes rebirth in the Titan realm. Asura are also notable for their anger and supernatural powers. They fight with the Devas or trouble the humans through illness and natural disasters. Demigod is sometimes ranked as one of the evil realms, as there are several stories of them fighting against the gods. Manshya Loka, the Prithvi, the human realm. The human realm is the only realm of the 6 from which beings may escape samsara. Enlightenment is at hand in the human realm, yet only a few open their eyes and see it. Not a whole lot to discuss there, except that Soul King candidate Himchigo opened all 10 of his eyes before Clorox, Kohler, Bleach, Washing, Yuha, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, with a one-shot and no Quincy or hollow powers. Tergakloka, the Chikushiro, the animal realm. Animal beings are marked by stupidity, prejudice, and or complacency. They live sheltered lives, avoiding discomfort or anything unfamiliar. Rebirth in the animal realm is conditioned by ignorance or contentment. another eerily similar parallel with the Bleach Beast realm and the disposition of Komomora's people. Pretoloka, the Gaikado, the Hungry Ghost realm. Hungry ghosts are huge, quenchless monsters incapable of being satisfied. A hungry ghost is one who is always looking outside of himself for a new thing that will satisfy the craving within. Hungry ghosts are characterized by insatiable avarice and gluttony. The Hollows are very literally the hungry ghost of Wako Munda. Narakaloka, the Jigokuro, the Hellverse. The Hell realm is the most terrible of the 6 realms. Hell beings have a short fuse and everything makes them angry. The only way that Hell beings deal with things that make them angry is through aggression. Unchecked anger and aggression can cause rebirth in the Hell realm. The god of Naraka and the ruler over the cycle of life and death is Lord Yama, much like the recently promoted guardian of Hell, Old Man Yama, the same Shinigami whose Shikai release command is reduce all creation to ash, whose Western Bankai technique is called the Hell Cloak or Sunset Hell Robe, and whose Southern Bankai raises the literal army of the dead from actual motherfucking Hellverse. Etc., etc., etc. But I digress. If you're still not convinced that the Kubo cosmos is an infinite amount of infinities nestled within an infinitely larger infinity, the 1,000-Year Blood War Clorox animation team requests that you drink bleach. Let's explore the lore on the makeup of the overall Bleach universe, shall we? Garganta. The Garganta is a high multiversal complex hyperspace dimension of turbulent reishi that houses all of the infinite time-space dimensions in Bleach, including the low multiversal complex of Hellverse. It is a space between all dimensions and exists all around them, featuring innumerable infinite in size pocket dimensions of reishi called Kyogoku, i.e. valleys of screams. The world of the living universe lies inside of it alongside of all of the other infinite time-space dimensions evidenced throughout. If the world of the living and the Soul Society could be likened to planets and the pipeline that connected them were Dangai, the void of space that surrounded those was called Garganta. Breaking down this statement, it says, if these realms could be likened to planets, which unequivocally and explicitly indicates that they are not planets, the void of space that surrounds those was called Garganta. The words if and could are used here to demonstrate a metaphor because the Garganta is not outer space. It's completely devoid of stars, possessing nothing save for the torrents of Ryatsu, which entirely eliminates it from being outer space. What's more, in Chapter 573 and Core 2 of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, Grimmy plunges Araki into actual outer space, where we all witness firsthand that Shinigami can't breathe in outer space. Erstwhile, we see Ichigo and Unohana breathing just fine as they traverse the Garganta. To claim the realms are only planets would also claim Garganta as outer space, given that it surrounds all of the realms. Hyosobe's quote is an esoteric metaphor used to more easily explain how Kubo cosmology functions. Also, if you are too retarded to accept that this is in fact only a metaphor, riddle me this, monkeys.
On your back gasping for air? Quite undignified for the god of monkeys, don't you think?
Doesn't that mean that there is also a literal fucking sewage pipeline connecting the two realms together? Stupid! In summary, Garganta is a much, much, much higher dimensional hyperspace separate from the other dimensions that you unreservedly cannot physically travel to. There is no amount of distance that you can cover flying from the surface of Cerate, Earth, Mars, Venus, or Wako Mundo directly into space which will allow you to reach Garganta. You absolutely, HIV positively have to open a dimensional portal to enter Garganta. The world of the living. In Kubology, the world of the living is simply the real universe of the Bleachverse. It is a dimension that houses the planet Earth where all living souls and pluses reside in. It features Jupiter and Saturn as well as incalculable galaxies within it confirmed by Kubo to exist in an end sketch via the dialogue from Khan, including several demonstrable examples of starry nights as well as countless flat-out nebulae, superclusters, and gas giants. Soul Society. The extra-dimensional realm housing the world of the Soul Reapers also houses innumerable galaxies and at least 2 dimensions of infinite time-space. Soul Society is also described as being the other side of the same coin as the world of the living, as in universal plus or infinite. This dimension is also shown holding a real starry night sky via Tosin and Co. with potentially limitless galaxies. This is not up for debate. The Dangai. A dimension that directly connects Soul Society and the world of the living. This dimension has its own space and time with the flow of time that is much faster than the time in the other dimensions, which gave fake Karakura Town Shirasaki 3 months of shonen power-ups and the Super Saiyan Godzin Buster, which, just for the sake of context, is to say his dad held a 5D realm together for an entire season of Dragon Ball Super with his Rei Ryoku alone, and Strawberry Kurosaki had already far surpassed him before his Dangai training had even begun. Ishin stated that the Soul Society and the world of living are split by a separate time-space. Guriko and Can't Fear Your Own World 2 confirmed that general relativity is canon to the Bleach verse, further supporting the realms being space-times. When Yukio appeared in front of Genjo in Can't Fear Your Own World 2, it is confirmed additionally that the Kubo cosmos has space-time, which again makes the Bleach verse a multiversal time-space continuum. Hueco Mundo, the dimension housing the Hollows. It is a dimension with an endless night and a moon perpetually hanging in a never-ending sky. It is also described as the region adjacent to the world of the living and Soul Society, which brings us back to Hueco Mundo is infinite in size, which can also easily be verified by a few different Clorox confirmed statements and feats. Rudeborn Shiruto is the Master Chief Arankar of the Exequious Armed Forces of Las Noches and possesses the ability to infinitely spam respawns of that army by tapping into the infinite reishi reserves within the endless sands of Hueco Mundo. Now, the sands of Hueco Mundo being described as endless alone can and should be considered conjecture and scrutinized as simple hyperbole. However, we have not only the 3 worlds parallel, of which the other 2 are repeated and replete with infinite time-space dimensions, but also that infinite reishi absolutely requires infinite storage in a realm which consists entirely of reishi. Also, if you've already seen my proof beginning of series Ichigo is massively faster than light, plus you know the Soul Society arc Bankai Ichigo is casually 150,000 times faster than light, or that post-Vassal Bankai Ichigo is fast enough to cross an infinite time-space dimension in roughly 4 to 5 seconds. Now, just going off of the Soul Society arc count, ignoring the half a dozen order of magnitude power stacks he went through before, post-Vassal Ichigo is casually 225 quadrillion times faster than light. My point is not that tight motherfucking Kubo is a madman who was likely bullied by Goku fans as a burgeoning mangaka, nor is it that you can nerf Ichigo that much and he is still speed blitzing 99% of all end-of-series main characters in anime and 99% of all characters in Dragon Ball Super. My point isn't even why the fuck would Ukiura, who is casually 150 quintillion times faster than light, throw a spear at that distance after being speed blitzed twice by an Ichi god in Bastalore form, unless he assumed it was fast enough to land a hit, or that he could tweak the velocity several times upon a second throw. No. My point is that he threw a Keto Javelin, which is canon confirmed FTL, and it didn't hit any surface for 4 to 5 seconds. A heavily nerfed version of a heavily fatigued Vasto Lorde OG killer Triple Gichigo was accosted by a lightning lance that would have needed to be traveling 7.5 times faster than 150 quintillion times faster than light speed reasonably, which means that the Lanza lance traveled at the very least 1 sextillion, 125 quintillion miles and still managed to vaporize portions of a country-sized fortress from the expel pyroclastic plume resin alone. That's how powerful Ukiura was, that's how big Hueco Mundo is. Casually.
I'll try again. It's always been very difficult to control. Are you kidding? He can fire a technique like that multiple times?
Hellverse. Tai Kubo is the production director, meaning the movie is his main concept, being produced to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Bleach, and as a result has his core input as he directed and approved the whole thing. Case in point, it expands upon the concept previously shown and unexplored in the manga, thus establishing the connection the other movies/fillers lacked. Kubo also designed what each of the 5 levels of hell looked like in a series of sketches. Memories of Nowhere is a Clorox Kubology canon-confirmed film by its tie-in chapter 627 and the as-of-yet unreleased 1000-Year Blood War anime episode, right? Well then, according to tight motherfucking Kubo, you should probably drink even more bleach. Hellverse is also canon since the same and more can be gleaned in regards to the manga, movie, and the anime series cooperations. As far as Kubo's current dissociative stance and opinion on the film, not its canonicity, as Kubo has never been on record, ledger, or otherwise about any of the films and their placements or the lack thereof within the main story timeline. A. He directly acknowledges it as an overall piece of the overall Clorox franchise concerning the Bleach versus version of Hell. B. Absolutely no take-backsies whatsoever. C. It does not negate him personally creating the canon connective tissue. D. It does not negate the canon class system. E. It does not negate the composite character argument either. Apropos, allow me a brief adjust to jump out in front of the overly simple-minded and inelegantly predictable Hellverse isn't canon excuse. Good peasant. It takes an insane level of ass-pullery and fuckboy genealogy to intentionally ignore the composite character arguments for Hellverse Ichigo when everything ever wrote/produced about Batman that didn't come from Loeb or Kane, about Superman that didn't come from Schuster or Siegel, all of GT and all of Dragon Ball Super, Daima, and Heroes, which includes but is not limited to Godkey, Angels, Zeno, Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego, and Jiren, every Marvel and DC comic book or film character that has ever been written by someone besides the original author, with or without their consent, is not canon by the same total lack of logic. Kindly shut the fuck up.
Go in your room. Go.
Also, Kubo wrote an official tie-in chapter, which for you fucktards is a term used to describe supplemental material to the main canon, where Sal Aparo and Ardenero go to the third layer of the movies Hell and chill out with Kakuto's henchmen, from the Hellverse movie. Also, episode 299, which aired in 2010 right before the Hellverse film's release as an episodic prelude, features actual characters and concept from, you guessed it, the fucking Hellverse movie. Beyond that, the promotional material for the film uses the kanji Taiju Sekai to describe Hell, which is a multiverse or low multiversal complex within a much larger 7 to 10D high multiversal complex hyperspace realm. Speaking of Sekai, in Chapter 45, when explaining why the Shinigami slaughtered the Quincy, Urahara's explanation translates to defend against the collapse of this Sekai, and in Chapter 70, when explaining the Reishi converter prior to sending Team Clorox to save Rukia, his words translate to Soul Society is the Sekai of Souls. At the tail end of the Deicide chapters, both Kisuke and Godzin reveal that they are aware of the existence and purpose of the late Soul King via Soul King Sosuke's plan being elaborated upon as Aizen sought to become the new Soul King to create a new Sekai. We also have the elite Sternritter Royal Guard Askin referring to Yak's plan, saying crushing the 3 Sekai and afterwards constructing something else. Sekai, especially in context of manga and anime, is used to describe either a society, a world, or a universe. Society is defined as a group of people living together, and this definition of Sekai clearly does not fit Bleach realms, given that we know Rayo doesn't interfere with the people of Soul Society, and the Yuhababadi Debura wasn't planning on destroying 3 societies of people.
Stupid!
World is commonly defined as an Earth or our Earth. However, to claim that the realms are planet is to claim that Garganta is literal outer space, which is fucking fucked-hearted and wrong, even and especially when considering the memories of nowhere depictions of the 2 colliding realms, particularly given that neither of them even remotely resembles our Earth. Furthermore, riddle me this, monkeys.
There's nothing that I despise more than a monkey.
If Soul Society, the world of the living, and Waco Mundo are only planets or solar systems, how the fuck does destroying the linchpin reform the entire original universe out of the 3 planets or solar systems? Consequently, universal is defined as everything that comprises existence within the cosmos. This is the last definition of Sekai and the only one that isn't directly refuted by what we are told within the manga, movies, or anime. This means that the most accurate translation for Sekai, the only translation for Sekai referring to the realms, is in fact universal. But what precisely are the guidelines for universal anyways? Well, according to Versus Battle Wiki, the current gold standard site for power scaling calc/feat online community, it is common for fictional characters to be scaled based upon creating one or more multiple worlds, dimensions, or realms. However, many users may often be confused on whether those are synonyms for universes or simply finite pocket realities. They may have indications of being quite large, but they still require some more in-depth specific evidence to be truly universes. Such versus Battle Wiki accepted evidences are as follows. 1. If they are outright called universes or stated to be the size of universes by reliable sources, they should be considered universes. 2. If the size of the realm described as having infinite sizes or synonyms that should strongly indicate them being universes. 3. If they are outright stated to be completely separated by barriers of time and space, and either stated or shown to be reasonable in size, such as having countless galaxies, then they should indeed be universes. 4. If they are flat out stated to be entire timelines, then they are indeed alternate universes. 5. Being labeled as entire alternate realities generally indicates them to be called universes. 6. If they are stated to mirror the universe or our universe or the real world, they would refer to being universes. In conclusion, Soul Society and the world of the living are not limited to just planets. The entire realms have hundreds of billions of stars and innumerable galaxies and are logically, narratively, and thematically full-on boundless universes with an endless Dongai in between the two. Plus, the literal infinite Garganta acts as a barrier which holds the entire multiversal complex cosmology together. If the distance between Soul Palace and the Serite is large enough for an infinite timer, god of death, to take more than a third of a day to travel across unassisted. If Muken is near, if not blatantly infinite, which we know to be fact given that Mu and its associated kanji represents infinity across several anime verses, from the Mu and Muichiro or Mugen Train to the Maggot's Nest in Clorox Bleach. If the infinite in number Kyogoku dimensions are inferior in size to all others, yet each of them houses an infinite number of souls. If the endless sands of Wako Mundu are filled with infinite reishi, yet parallel the boundless universe of the world of the living, the whole of the Kubo cosmos is not the observable, nor the undiscovered beyond dark matter void plus universe. The entirety of the Bleachverse is an infinite amount of infinities nestled within an infinitely larger infinity. Anyways, man, thanks for checking out another video. If you stuck around this long, I fucks with you.
Then we'll fox with each
Hit
other.
that like button, subscribe, and click that notification bell so we can discuss big facts and who's big mad or butthurt in the comments for the first hour. Oh yeah, and don't forget to hit that dislike button if you a bitch.